That was the song Radium. You can find it over at terrorwaves.bandcamp.com. It is from the band Terror Waves. It appears on their album, Terror Waves. It's an EP release. It appears on this episode of Monster Kid Radio. By permission of the band, I am Derek M. Cook, and this is episode number 43 of Monster Kid Radio. Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great time this Halloween season. This really is the holiday season for us monster kids, and I'm looking forward to Halloween. I took the day off from work, and I'm just going to kick back, and I'm going to relax, and I'm going to watch some horror movies and see what things are going on in the afternoon and evening, and I'm going to do NaNoWriMo later next month. But anyway, Halloween's going to be awesome, and this is going to be an awesome episode of Monster Kid Radio. I've got a little bit of feedback we're going to share with the listeners. We got some feedback, and if you want to participate in future feedback episodes, you can email us at monsterkidradio@gmail.com or drop us a voicemail at 503-4795-MKR. The two pieces of feedback that we're doing in this episode came in via voicemail, so please feel free to give us a call if you have any comments about anything that we've talked about on the show, any questions, anything like that, maybe even suggestions for movies to cover in the future. You're going to hear the song Radium in its entirety at the end of this episode, so stay tuned for that. And you know what? I think I'm just going to dive right into a voicemail that we have right now.
Hey, Brother D, this is Bayou Hunter from down in Louisiana. Just calling to say how much I'm enjoying the new show. I had to put it off for a few months there, so I had about 40 of them built up. So I'm getting close. I'm about 35 in. But, yeah, I'm really enjoying the show. I don't know this era of monster movies as well as I did zombies, so I'm getting a lot out of this. All right, man. You have a good one. I will talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.
Ah, yes. Back when I used the name Brother D, back in my mail order zombie days. That was Bayou Hunter. He was a regular listener, a regular member of the mail order zombie family when I was doing the zombie movie podcast. Hunter, welcome to Monster Kid Radio. I hope you enjoy your stay, and thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your support over the years over at MOZ, and I hope you stick around MKR for a long, long time. Thank you so much. One of the things that we've been trying to do here at Monster Kid Radio is talk about, well, like I say in the beginning of most shows, the classic and sometimes not so classic monster movies of yesteryear. And like Hunter said, there are movies out there that he's not overly familiar with. And I'll be honest, there are some classic movies or not so classic movies from that era that I'm not overly familiar with. And I've decided that for Halloween, I'm going to go through my vast DVD and Blu-ray collection and dig out some of these movies to watch for the very first time. And don't hold this against me, but it turns out, I was thinking about it today, and I have not seen one of the classic Vincent Price films. Do not tell my friend Dr. Gangrene. He's a huge Vincent Price fan, and he may hold this against me for a long time. I've never seen the first Dr. Phibes movie. I've seen the second one, but I've never seen the abominable Dr. Phibes, and I've got it here on Blu-ray. So I think while I'm eating a bowl of Frankenberry or a Yummy Mummy cereal, or maybe one of each, I'll pop the Blu-ray in and check it out. They were talking about this over at the Earth Station 1 podcast that I listened to today. They actually called their podcast the Earth Station Boo podcast for Halloween. They were talking about the movie, and I mean, I knew that it was kind of a precursor to the Saw franchise. It was pre-Saw, kind of a clever serial killer, sort of slasher-ish. I don't know. Like I said, I've seen the second Phibes film, so I know what to expect, but now I'm really excited. I'm really stoked to check that one out.
What lovely music for a murder. Or 2, or 3, or 9. Who's this? Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet a dear friend. 9 killed you. 9 shall die.
Your wife, no, Phibes. But you I will kill.
But you can't, Doctor. I am already dead.
Here, how are we going to get him off this? You take his head, and I'll take his feet. Let's unscrew him.
Dr. Phibes, who samples the finer things of life. In his own inimitable way, and experiments with fascinating instruments of death.
The what, sir? The guitar. The 10 curses visited upon the pharaohs before Exodus.
9 shall die, 9 eternities in doom.
Curse of boils, of bats.
Frogs?
Frogs, yes. And the curse of blood. Curse of hail in the bloody middle of nowhere.
Are you ready for Dr. Fives?
Probably the most terrifying motion picture you'll ever see.
From the ocean's unfathomable depths, a gigantic, man-like creature appears. From the fiery depths of the earth comes a prehistoric mastodon of destruction. Never before has the screen known such heart-stopping terror. Starring Nick Adams.
Well, I feel he's very important from a scientific point of view. I'd have to cut off a leg or an arm.
Doctors, I won't let you conduct this test.
Frankenstein, with the strength of 1,000 men. And every man's need for affection that makes him a willing captive.
The chain hurt you.
The new scoop of the century. The horrifying touch of a severed hand with a life of its own. Terrifying force of a monster that dwarfs man's tallest structures.
So that might be another movie that I check out just because I've got it, never seen it, and I love Nick Adams. He's like the poor man's John Agar. You know, in fact, if I could go back in time and make a buddy road movie, like a couple of guys going on a road trip, maybe fighting giant monsters along the way, it'd be John Agar and Nick Adams in a convertible. I don't care where they go, as long as they're fighting monsters along the way. That, ladies and gentlemen, would be a lot of fun. I might watch those two movies for Halloween. Kind of depends on how I'm feeling, that sort of thing. One of our listeners actually called in and let us know what movies he'd be watching for Halloween this year.
Hey, Monster Kid Radio. This is Larry Carney, a big fan of the show. Just calling in response to Derek's question as to what Halloween movies I'll be enjoying this year. And I think this year I'm going to watch The Manster from 1960, which was set in Japan and is a movie about a guy who grows an eye and eventually a head from his shoulder. And I'm going to follow that up with a movie I haven't watched in probably 3 years, and it's called The Flesh Eaters, and that's from 1962. And I remember first watching that movie when I was a kid on my Sir Graves Ghastly, which was a local horror host, kind of my Monster Kid touchstone, really. And I remember during the segments of the show that Sir Graves seemed rather shocked by the violence from this not-so-classic 1962 movie. There's a lot of really kind of cool Monster Kid effects in it, and it's definitely one that I recommend and think that all Monster Kids should watch at least one time. It's a lot of fun. And anyway, keep up the great work. Love the show, and happy Halloween.
I have not seen The Monster in a very long time, although I think I've got like 3 or 4 copies of it here in the Monster Kid Radio library because it turns up on a lot of those public domain sets. Mill Creek's put it out in a couple of different box sets that I've got here on the shelf. So I'm sure I've seen it. It's just been a while. But The Flesh Eaters, that's one that I've not seen. 1964, directed by Jack Curtis. You've got my interest here, man. I'll have to check this one out. Put it on the ever-growing list of movies to review down the line. You know, there's something about Nazis and mad scientists, whether it's this or The Frozen Dead, they just go well together. And I don't know why that is, what that is about, but it works. So I've gone into Netflix and added The Flesh Eaters to my queue. I'm going to have to check that one out. That sounds awesome. The man's trying to get back to that. You know, he was talking about how the eye and the head grows out of the shoulder. Shades of Army of Darkness, or perhaps Army of Darkness is shades of the Monster. Just saying. Potentially, have to go back and watch Army of Darkness again. Bummer. My job as a monster movie podcaster is real tough. Again, I want to stress that if you want to be part of the show and a future piece of feedback, email me at monsterkidradio@gmail.com or drop us a line at 503-479-5MKR. I hope everybody out there has a safe and very happy, monstrous, scary Halloween. You know, I'm going to watch those 2 movies, or at least try to watch those 2 movies that I mentioned. There's one other movie that I always try to watch every Halloween. It became a lot easier when it was released on Blu-ray a couple of years ago. It's a movie that came out in the 80s. But it's still pretty relevant to us monster kids. It's Fred Decker's The Monster Squad. I love this film. This is something I'm going to have to check out today sometime.
You know who to call when you have ghosts. But who do you call when you have monsters?
We're the Monster Squad. What's a squad? It's like Miami Vice, I think.
They're young and inexperienced.
Naughty virgin.
They're a bit disorganized.
Monsters are not real.
We don't know that, sir.
2,000-year-old dead guys do not get up and walk away by themselves.
But when strange things start happening in town...
There's a monster in my closet.
Ooh, look at that big, scary monster.
What's happening? You wait until the werewolf.
Silver bullet?
They're the only ones ready to do battle.
Something's out there that's killing people. And if it's monsters, nobody's gonna do a thing about it but us.
And the creatures of the night rule the world.
Real monsters? Us? Midnight. In the world, remember? Maybe we can be like Mask Squad instead, you know? 2 mask bombs.
We got 1035. Stick back up. Hurry up!
Or Nature Squad. The book is right. Don't you see it's all true?
By midnight,
You guys!
they won't seem so young anymore. The Monster Squad.
Wolfman's gone mad.
You know, I first saw that movie when I was visiting my grandparents growing up. I went down to the video store and rented it, brought it home, popped it in the VCR, and just was mesmerized. This is one that I wanted to see in the theaters when it first came out, but wasn't allowed to watch a lot of monster movies growing up, so that was not in the cards. But when I finally got a chance to see it on VHS, I fell in love. When I started working at a video store that had it in stock, I took it home all the time. When I worked at a video store that sold it, I bought it. And then when it came out on DVD and then on Blu-ray, I picked it up. The Blu-ray looks great. It sounds great. I love this film. It's such a perfect Halloween movie. You know, the thing about Halloween movies for me, it's not necessarily about the scary and the dread. Granted, for a long time, and well, to this day, I still associate Lovecraft with Halloween, and Lovecraft is full-on dread. But for me, Halloween is about the monsters. Give me something supernatural. Give me vampires, werewolves, some sort of creature from beyond, creature from, well, a Black Lagoon or something. Give me something like that. I don't need serial killers. I don't need slashers. I don't need guys chasing me around with a chainsaw. Unless the guy that's chasing me around with the chainsaw was brought back to life because of a lightning strike, and it's like the 7th film, and it's all supernatural. Anyway, I just want something monstrous and just a touch of fun. And I think the movie The Monster Squad embodies this to the max, and I'm going to make sure that I put that one on sometime this Halloween. I'm going to say Halloween weekend. This episode goes out on Thursday. I've got part of Friday off. I've got the weekend. I'm going to watch the Monster Squad before the next episode of Monster Kid Radio. That'll be coming out next week, and I'm not sure just yet what's going to be the feature discussion in that episode, but I've got a couple of things cooking. Monster Kid Radio is a registered service mark of Monster Kid Radio LLC. All original content of Monster Kid Radio by Monster Kid Radio LLC is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivations 3.0 Unported license. Of course, that does not apply to the trailers that I played or the song Radium by the band Terror Waves. It appears on their EP release, Terror Waves. It appears on this episode of Monster Kid Radio by permission of the band. Happy Halloween.